Loop manipulation can easily be one of the most important things when it comes to actually distinguishing yourself as a producer, because there's a lot of little cool tricks you can do to take basic loops and essentially turn them into a lot of different unique sounding stuff. And you know, the hip hop industry uses loops like crazy, but the thing is that a lot of the top producers know how to take one loop and can take it 100 different directions, and that's what this video is about. In this video, we're going to show you a couple different techniques that are very popular in modern hip hop production that are going to help you take a basic loop and take it to a bunch of different creative variations. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video and make sure you watch to the end because I have some homework assignments for you. Peace.
Hey guys, this is Nick with Cymatics.fm. Welcome to day number 6 of our 7-day beatmaking challenge. And today I'm going to teach you guys a few simple techniques using plugins on how to make your melodies sound more interesting, how to manipulate your melodies and make them your own. So without further ado, let's get started here. Let me just play you the melody I have. So it's pretty nice already, but I'm going for a darker vibe, something more spacey and ethereal. So let's try that. So the first thing usually I go for is maybe I just change the key. And when you change the key, make sure that your time stretching is enabled so that your melody doesn't get stretched out on the grid, so that it'll stay in sync. So if we play this with a metronome. So that's one way of doing it. If you're not getting satisfactory results, the first and most major plugin on this list would be Halftime. This is probably the most commonly used plugin in all of hip hop production today, especially modern sort of spacey trap music. This plugin, it's only $15, but you'll hear it basically on any record. The same idea as the Halftime or half speed preset from Grossbeat in FL Studio, but it's made available for all operating systems. And although Grossbeat does exist for Mac now, I still prefer to use Halftime because it's so simple. So I'm just going to show you guys what it does to your audio. So this is before Halftime. And this is with it. So it's not just transposing the sample down an octave, it's also playing with the rhythm, so that we can also just change the rhythm to something like 1 bar. That means that every 1 bar, it's going to reset its memory, and it's going to basically chop the melody into 1 bar segments, but that are still pitched down an octave. So let's listen to the 1 bar setting. 2x just means that it's going to bring it down an octave. You can also try 1/4. And that's already kind of more faithful to the original melody. If you want to go really low, you can use 4x, and that's 2 octaves. And to smoothen out the transition, we can use the smooth knob. Likewise, you can bring it into the left to make it more of a effects, because it'll just take more of the original melody. It has a very interesting quality to it. But sustain just carries it over to the next note and makes it smoother. If you make it very high, it'll cause a swell. So there's a lot of possibility here with just how the notes transition between one another. And 1.5x is interesting. It kind of makes it a triplet groove. So that's also interesting if that's what your song demands. So that's Halftime. Very important plugin, and I really recommend you guys get it for $15. It'll really help spruce up so many melodies. I use it pretty much in every production. The other thing is another plugin. It's also very cheap. It's $10. It's Reverse by a company called Initial. And let me just put this after everything just to show you what it does without halftime. So let me just play this. So it just reverses your audio. It's very true to its name. The fade knob here basically gives it a swelling effect, but we're just gonna leave that off for now. You have to leave it on for a bit to collect the audio in memory. And the really magic stuff starts to happen when you put the initial reverse behind the halftime. It's very ethereal, and you can already hear kind of like a Travis Scott situation happening there, and you can resize to GUI, which is nice. So that's reverse. You can also do this obviously with a sample, but I like being able to turn it off and on whenever I want, and I mean for $10 it really hurt. Okay, and the final plugin is up there in terms of price. It's about $100, but it's called Looperator, and this is kind of like Effectrix. It's made by the same company, but it's tricked out. It's got a lot of more interesting features in it. The first and most, I guess, the most desirable feature in the plugin is this slicing feature, which is basically, it allows you to cut up the sample into 16 slices at various different time signatures and then shift them around to really kind of scramble the sample and make it your own. And we can obviously use this with this halftime initial reverse configuration, or we can let's just turn this off to make it more obvious. So let's just take the, I don't know, slot number 7 and put it in for slot number 3. And here we can just randomize it. So it ended up picking number 2, I think. So this is a pretty interesting thing to get yourself inspired. That's a nice one. So that's a nice way to get yourself inspired. I like to use the loop feature a lot. It's a lot of fun and gives you very reliable results, especially if you use something like the 6 preset. It's 6 loops, 6 chops, and leave the dry wet pretty low, something like maybe 66 or 60. It's a bit high, but that's the effect. Or we can do 4. And it gives it a glitchier feeling, and I love this effect a lot. The forward and reverse, if you stretch it with the shift key, gives you that little swell at the end. Very common. And another really, really crucial one is tape stop. Yeah. And there's a bunch of other wackier effects, but they all sound really good and musical. Let's try this pitched up stretch. It's really cool. And the most interesting feature, in my opinion, or the most inspiring feature, is the randomization that you can get. You can click this button and just randomize all of them. And that's really nice, and you can undo them, or you can randomize specific things. So you can maybe randomize space, and it'll only randomize these 2 effects. That's a very inspiring tool, to be honest, guys. I really like this plugin. Okay, so we have Looperator, and I mean, really, it starts to have a life of its own when you rearrange these things and play with the order of them. So let's put that before the halftime and have initial reverse on. So it's skipping over those effects in the halftime. So you can imagine you get some crazy stuff going on, especially if you put that after the or before the reverse. So we went from the original loop, which was this, to something way more ethereal and dark. Nice. Alright, so I hope you guys learned about some concepts here with regarding loop manipulation. Yeah, I really recommend you guys get these plugins in particular. Looperator's up there in terms of price, but it is super, super capable, and it gives you a lot of in-the-box functionality that usually would take a lot longer to achieve with just the standard stock effects and stuff like that in your DAW. So I really recommend you look into it. Halftime and reverse, those are kind of staple plugins now. They're used a lot, especially halftime. So that's how you manipulate your loop to make it your own and make it unrecognizable. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
So as you guys saw in the video, there is a lot of different stuff you can do with those 3 simple plugins, not to mention, you know, mixing up the different order of the way the sound is being processed with the plugins, just how many options you have. Literally one melody can make 1,000 new melodies, and I think that's one of the most beautiful parts about working with loops is taking them into those new undiscovered directions. And this is actually going to be your homework. I want you guys to take 10 different loops. It could be the same loops you guys have already been working on, but I want you to create for each one, I want you to create 3 variations. That's 30. Okay, that sounds like a lot. And you don't have to do this all in one session per se, but getting used to taking one loop and finding different techniques that you like to do, different sounds you like to add in, and different, you know, manipulations that you really like to do in your production that can help you out a lot. And listen to those reference tracks. Try and see if you can identify when a producer was using halftime or a certain effect that they're using, and maybe try to recreate those things when manipulating these loops. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and get ready for the last day of the challenge because we actually have a big announcement coming up. Peace.